fall into this sort of trap when you watch porn of you need it to be crazier and crazier each time to fulfill your needs and fulfill like what your dopamine and what your brain wants. Feminism has gone too far in certain ways in like the social aspect. Overall, it's not that hard to maintain because then you're not maintaining like a lie in the relationship, right? Because if you're putting on this persona and you have to keep up this persona, and then the longer you keep up with it, the longer you're perpetuating a lie or something that isn't real, is definitely not a healthy relationship. AiA episode 44, stealing Jubilee's content yet again, but on a real note, we are reacting to teen boys anonymously answer 7 burning questions. Now, obviously, I won't be reacting to the full video. Just want to make that disclaimer. I do cut certain sections out, so I won't be listening to every single question. But I saw this video on Jubilee's channel, and I thought it was quite interesting. And I thought, hey, a reaction, I guess, would be a little bit interesting because the questions that they asked in it were, to me, pretty I guess, controversial questions. That's why I guess this is anonymous. But yeah, I wanted to kind of see how this was. It's kind of like middle ground in a way. I do know a little bits and pieces like of this video, but I know it got like 600,000 views in like the first week it was uploaded. But now it's kind of tapered off, obviously, because it's like 2 weeks later. But anyways, let's check it out and see how it goes.
In an age of call-outs, culture wars, and perfect facades, people can be afraid to express how they really feel. So we brought together 7 strangers, protected their identities, and asked them all 7 burning audience questions. What will be revealed when we take the mask off?
If the answer is yes, you will flip on your light. Do you watch porn?
Okay, so I'm going to treat this exactly like middle ground. So every question that is presented, I will give my answer as well to that question. So do you watch porn? I think every male does, at least from time to time, at least in today's age of the internet age. I can't imagine there being you know, pretty much any male out there that has access to the internet that hasn't watched porn. But, you know, my take on porn, I guess it's more of a sort of non-person on the left would, you know, kind of have this take, but at least for my opinion on it would be moderation. And that's my take on pretty much anything in life that's good, is that you need to moderate yourself from indulging in it too much. So I think you can have a healthy relationship with it, but obviously you don't want to be watching it like every day or something. Like that's when it becomes like a big problem. But for me personally, it's about moderation. Do I watch it? Yes. But do I moderate it? Yes. So let's see what they say.
It's accessible, and because it's accessible and it's there, people use it. I'm one of them.
I think most guys can agree that they have, at least at some point, watched it. And, you know, I mean, it's, if you can enjoy it in a healthy way, if you can enjoy masturbating in a healthy way, I think then, like, by all means, go for it. But
yeah, I mean, those were basically my 2 takes there, is that one, it's accessible, but you want to have it in a healthy way. You know, that's really what it comes down to. You know, that's always been my take on it, is just moderation. I know some people have kind of listened to my take and thought I was some sort of like no-fap or like anti-porn guy. I'm not. I'm just someone who is very big into moderating any good thing, whether, you know, because I know there's a lot of good things out there, but people don't moderate them. And you can even think of like even like more basic things like sleeping and eating. You know, those things should be moderated in your life, but I don't think a lot of people actually try to moderate them, even though they should be.
Yeah, I do watch porn. God. A lot of my teenage years, I spent a lot of time self-obsessing over it to the point where it kind of became an addiction. And it took until very recently to get out of the hole of, paying for porn. I do watch it, but I don't like that I watch it.
I'm going to bring everyone else into the conversation.
I said no. I used to watch it a lot before. I would say I was addicted to it. My dad is in prison, so there was no one really for me to talk to about sex. So porn was my education on sex.
From personal experience, it messed me up because after watching it so much, I'm sure we've all been there where you're on page 5 and like nothing is right. Like you're looking for that right video, but your dopamine receptors and everything is so messed up at this point that the same thing that would get you off wouldn't get you off anymore, right? I went so deep into it where I'm a straight man, I started watching trans porn because it was just erotic in a different way that I've never seen before. I needed more stimulation.
I think that's a really good point he brought up there, is that you fall into this sort of trap when you watch porn of, you need it to be crazier and crazier each time to fulfill your needs and fulfill what your dopamine and what your brain wants. And, I've had that problem as a teenager when I was watching porn, especially because I did get to a point in my life where I was watching crazier and crazier stuff. But it wasn't until I started to moderate what I watched. So now when I do watch porn, which is very limited, I don't watch it every day or something. But when I do watch it, it doesn't take a lot to get me off, right? It can just be something normal or just something just like a couple having sex, right? It's nothing that, it needs to be this sort of kink or anything like that. I don't even think I have any sexual kinks or really any that I know of. So, that is the big problem with porn. That's always the one problem that I bring up, is that, hey, you could get so obsessed with porn because you've watched it so much that normal sex just isn't appealing to you anymore. And if you're already a virgin and your dopamine is already that messed up, you're probably not going to be watching porn, you'll probably be watching porn for the rest of your life, but you're probably not going to be wanting to engage in having casual sex or just any sex in general, because it's not going to be stimulating for you.
Because of pornography.
Yeah, because of pornography. So I don't think it's just entertainment. It actually affects with your brain and the way you perceive love.
Do you think that a lot of teenagers or teen boys are really educated on the effects of pornography?
No.
Not at all.
Have you ever cried?
Okay, so these are the next two questions that I am going to be skipping just because I do cut out sections of the video. So the second question here is, have you ever cried in someone before? And I'll answer the third one as well. So second question, have you ever cried in front of someone before? I would say yes. Parents is a very easy example. Anyone else? Probably not. Because when you think about crying in front of someone, you, as a male, that's not really something you do, or it's not something that's expected of you in that way, right? And you try to uphold that throughout your life, and it gets hard at times. But I think you reach a point in your life that you've done it for so long, so it basically becomes just a habit, where it's if you feel like you're having some sort of emotions, you'll go into another room, you'll hold it in, which isn't good. But it's that sort of just thing that is taught to you as a guy when you're very young, even when you're 5 or 6, especially if you grow up more conservative, it's much more well known. But yeah, you're going to uphold that. And, some guys do, I would say most do, but some guys don't. It's something that I've upheld over time, just really to not show your emotions to people, because that's for some reason a bad thing. I know it's not, but even now I do it to this day. So it's something that I uphold to this day, and it's probably not a healthy thing, but it is something I do, and I can acknowledge it. And I think acknowledging the problem is the first step to solving it. So that was my, answer to that. And so the third question that I was going to skip 2 and 3. The third one is, feminism has gone too far. I guess if you really look at modern feminism, I think there are certain ways it has gone like a little far, but overall, if we're just looking for equal rights, equal representation, equal opportunity for both, you know, men and women, I think it has achieved that in many ways. I mean, you could just look at studies that are saying, sorry about the phone, but you can look at studies that are saying, for instance, that, you know, women in their early 20s are out earning men in their early 20s. And that seems to be true as of now, like across the job sector. And when you look at things like that, it's almost like the pendulum has swung the other way. Now, again, I'm not saying that's a good thing or a bad thing, but I am saying that I think feminism has gone, you know, above and beyond where, you know, people thought it was, you know, maybe like 50, 60 years ago, and it has achieved to where women are actually being more successful in college now. Young women especially are earning more than men. That's all great. You know, I absolutely love that and I applaud that. And, you know, I'm glad that women are doing better than men because, you know, historically you can look like any single, you know, year previous or just like decades in the past and, you know, millennia really, women have always had the short end of the stick, and I'm glad they are doing better. But it is something to kind of look at in the social aspect of like maybe feminism has gone too far in certain ways, and like the social aspect of like, you know, you shouldn't hold a door for a woman because that's somehow like being just like misogynistic in a way, because I have seen feminists make that sort of argument. But, you know, I would say that holding the door open for someone you would do for a man or a woman. It's not, you know, you're not trying to be misogynistic in that way or demasculating to the other man. You're just trying to be respectful. So I think certain aspects when it comes to like those social aspects, that's when I think feminism has gone a little bit too far. But maybe society will shift in that sort of way of there are certain things that feminists are saying for social issues that we might change as a society. So I'm not opposed to that, but I would say that that is an important thing to look at. So that was the third question. So I skipped 2 and 3. So now continue to watch the rest of the video. So finally, sorry for, you know, talking so much over these takes, but anyways, the fourth one is I have been anxious about my penis size. Of course, I think every man out there has been anxious about their penis size once or twice, especially porn perpetuates this, at least it did for me. But yeah, I think that we've always looked up like what's the average penis size to see like, okay, we meet that, or oh, we're a little over that, oh, we're awesome. And you know, even now I'm kind of anxious about it. I think even when I do lose my virginity, or you know, you even have sex with multiple partners, you know, I still think I would be anxious about it, because I think one of the worst fears as a man is, you know, about to engage in sex and or do like actually engaging in sex at the moment, and you're you know, the woman is disappointed or your partner is disappointed with your size or how you're performing. So I think that this is a sort of thing that all men sort of I guess you could say are anxious about. I know I am, at least. So let's continue on with the video.
I'm anxious about my penis size.
I started watching pornography, I think around the age of 11 or 12, and that's, you know, that's a very impressionable, vulnerable place to be in. So of course, there's always these feelings about looking at your body.
Yeah, and I think the competition is probably what affects me the most part. You know, it's the thing you're like, I know good and well there's dudes bigger than me, and she says it doesn't matter, but it still plays on my mental when I go to sleep at night.
Currently, I'm not really like afraid of the size that I have, because I am kind of becoming more confident in my body and the way that I am. I don't really feel like it's going to matter nearly as much when you're with someone for 10 years as you are for like a one-night stand. So I am not personally like that uncomfortable with my size.
Everything that you just said like is true, and like you just need to become confident in your own self by knowing what people really look for. But like, it's hard to get on Netflix and watch Euphoria and think like these are like grown-ass men playing high school people, and you think like, well, that's not what I look like. And then you think about like every person that I have been with or will be with has probably seen this, I think that's really where that anxiety comes from. It's just the fact that other people probably have expectations.
I have questions.
No, I think a lot of their takes were actually really good, and it really just boils down to confidence. If you have confidence in your body, I don't think you'll be anxious about your penis size. At least I've sort of became less anxious about it, knowing like the average and the size that women really prefer. So I feel a lot better about it now. But yeah, I think it, happens over time. The next one, I have questioned my sexuality. Yeah, I think most men nowadays have. I definitely have, at least for me. I think it's something that unless you're in a relationship or unless you've engaged in sex, you probably don't know it fully. And since I've never been in a relationship and I've never had sex, that probably is something that I probably won't know fully until I actually engage in those things. So yeah, I've definitely questioned it and probably still are kind of questioning it on some level. I'm very sure of a lot of things. I would say I'm 95% sure, but there is still a little, I guess you could say questions up in the air.
Questioned my sexuality.
I guess growing up, I was never one of like the jocks of school. I always was into music, I was always into theater, and so growing up, I was always bullied because of that, because I was being too gay or whatever, and I always hung out with the girls. And so I definitely did kind of buy into what everyone else was saying, the peer pressure of like saying, oh, you're gay, this is how you're gonna end up turning out because this is how you are now. With where I am now in my life, I've just kind of gotten to a place where I've grown to be confident. I know what my identity is.
People thinking that definitely, like, it gets you thinking, It gets you thinking like, well, like, am I or should I be? It's like, should I be attracted to dudes because I like things that are quote unquote gay? But then I guess it just reveals the issue that like we've made certain things gay and made certain things straight.
Yeah, right. Mine didn't stem from any kind of like extra like curricular activity. My stuff stemmed from porn, as I mentioned before. And when I started watching trans porn, and it's weird to say, but like I got really nervous. I got really nervous because I thought maybe I'd be gay. And so I did my research on it, and I was kind of obsessed with trying to figure out like what this could mean. And all the stuff I would look up was saying like if you watch trans porn, you're still straight because they're women and stuff like that. But I'm thinking like, what would my family think? I've never sought out, and every time I talk to a trans woman in real life, there's no like actual attraction there. So I'm still lost in the fact of what I actually am attracted to, but I guess I am still straight because they are women.
Quite frankly, right now I feel happy with my sexuality, and I feel that it's not wrong to question your sexuality. In terms of law in America, like you're free to question whatever you want. You can question your religion, you can question your culture. It's just society is the things that constrains those certain things to be what's normal and what's wrong.
Yeah, I feel like there's such a strong stigma to be straight, or strong more like a pushing you into it. That even right now, I feel the desire to like explain myself, even though we're anonymous right now. I feel like I've only been with like actual like cis women, but like I know this like no one is judging me.
True. I mean, wow, that was actually a really good point about like the sort of societal constraints, and like even to an extent now, like I'm quite anonymous online. My viewers don't know a lot about me. I'm just a anonymous voice in a microphone. But yeah, even I feel the need to explain myself a lot because, even though I am sort of have this big anonymity online, it is quite, I guess, sort of, it makes me anxious in a way if I don't explain myself really well. So yeah, even though they right now are anonymous, it is extremely hard to sort of, I guess, think that people aren't judging you and not like really break out of those societal constraints, I think.
We're all here to be honest, but it's such a stigma that from the last 18 years of my life, that in this moment right now I feel embarrassed and ashamed for something that's just the way it is.
I'm scared of dying.
It's a big question. I'm scared of dying. I guess I would say if someone asked me this question probably like 3-4 years ago, I probably would have still said yes. I guess I'm a lot less scared of it now. I mean, kind of I'm scared of it, but I think I, even at my age of 22, have sort of achieved a lot of what I wanted to achieve. I think there's still more that I want to achieve, obviously, but if I was to die tomorrow, per se, I wouldn't be so scared of it. But I do think it is one thing to be scared of not achieving everything you want to in life before you die, and I think there's still a lot I want to achieve before I die. And yeah, there are still things out there that I want to do. So I guess I could say yes, I'm still scared of dying, but it's a lot less severe than it was a couple years ago.
I think of it as like I'm extremely scared of death. I mean, I watched my father die like right before me. It's a scary thing. They just stop breathing, and just the idea of like nothing is just extremely terrifying to me. It's like you don't really know what's going on. Like, are you even thinking? Are you even there? You're just a blip out of just space.
It is terrifying. We don't know. And as a Christian, I want to pretend that like I know that there's, heaven and hell, but at the end of the day, I genuinely don't know.
Yeah, I think I was always had the fear as a kid growing up that, I'm gonna die and like not fulfill like what I wanted to do here on earth, right? But every time I thought about dying, it was as an old person. But 2 years ago when I started working as a lifeguard, this lady and her friend came to the pool, and I have the music going and everything. She just starts having a seizure, and luckily, I did everything right, and EMS showed up, and she was safe. But then 2 weeks later, she unfortunately had another seizure while driving, and she died. And that's when I realized life is like it can happen to anyone at any point. And if I just die and don't do anything with my life, then that's what I'm scared of.
I said that I don't fear death because unlike you guys, I don't really have an experience, so much hands-on experience with death.
Am I afraid of the fact that I will die someday? No. But I think, obviously the fact that it might come way sooner than you expect is a scary thought. But it's the one thing that makes life like special. You know what I mean? It's the one thing I feel like that actually gives meaning to it. Because if you would never die, then you would never do anything. Because you would always have more time to do it.
I guess to address the dying question there, I would say that, one of them hit on the point really well. I think he's not scared of dying, but he's scared of dying too soon. And I think that's how I would explain it for myself personally, because, I know that I'm going to die. I'm not scared of that. It's just when it happens, right? I want it to happen, 50 years in the future. But if it were to happen sooner, that is a scary thing. So the final question, let's see what it is.
Do you guys feel like you can actually be your genuine self when you're like talking to a girl or hanging out?
Okay, can you be your genuine self with a girl? I would say yeah. I think that I can be my genuine self with a girl. Really, when it comes down to interpersonal reactions with anyone, the goal is to be yourself, right? If you want them to be friends or, something more than that, to maintain a relationship, you want to be your genuine self. So yeah, I mean, I think for at least teenagers in general, you try to put on this persona, but I think there comes a time in your life that you realize that to be in a healthy relationship, you have to be yourself. And I think that's quite hard for a lot of people to hear. But overall, it's not that hard to maintain, because then you're not maintaining like a lie in the relationship, right? Because if you're putting on this persona and you have to keep up with this persona, and then the longer you keep up with it, the longer you're perpetuating a lie or something that isn't real, is definitely not a healthy relationship. So that's what I would say to that.
With a girl,
There's definitely a difference between like talking or opening up to like my friends that are girls versus like a girl that I'm interested in.
Like obviously if you're trying to impress a girl, you're gonna be dressed nicely, you're gonna wear some cologne, you're not gonna like fart around her, right? It's like it's a filter thing. But like when it comes to your mom, Like, your mom's a girl, and I wholeheartedly trust my mom. So I'm gonna be myself around the people I trust more.
I guess that's what it
I mean, I think it's easier to be yourself when you've already known that person. So for instance, you know, if you're bringing up parents like mom, like that could be someone that you could be yourself on, or be yourself like, and you know, that would just become very natural to you because you've known them your whole life, you've had a relationship with them your whole life, so therefore it's super easy. But when you are trying to talk to someone else, like, you know, a newer person that you've never talked to before, it's a lot harder to be your genuine self because of the fact that, you know, you don't know how they're going to react. And I think most people sort of carry the belief that being themselves when you first go to interact with someone is not the right thing to do. I would say it is, because if you are, you know, not being your genuine self, you're going to come off as this sort of way, and then you have to maintain that sort of way, and then that's when the relationship is going to sort of spiral, not out of control, but sort of like, you know, have some chips in the armor over time. You know, when you come off as super confident in the first time you interact with someone, but then you're not as confident in the second, third, fourth, or 50th, that's when I think the problems could start arising.
is. There's a lot of times I walk away with talking to a girl I'm really interested in, and I'm like, man, I didn't just go up and be me. And then my best friend, right, he used to be my best friend. He's kind of a womanizer, but I see him get so much, like, you know, success. And every time I've gotten success is doing things that he's done, which is just putting on a facade, telling them what they want to hear.
I think it's good to be yourself because, I mean, you can only put a mask on for so long.
It's refreshing to talk to people and realize that I'm not the only one who feels a certain way about things. It's nice, and it's a step in the right direction for me in becoming more comfortable with being open and honest with everybody.
I think just the whole open conversation, like, this won't bite me in the end later, or like someone's not gonna listen to this and think, oh, that guy's bad. I have more safety of expressing my honest opinions.
Well, I think it comes down to people don't want to be rejected after the first time they talk to someone, right? So if you go up to someone, you're talking to them and you're being yourself, I think a big thing in the back of people's mind, they're like, shit, well, I don't want to be myself because they're probably going to reject me, and rejection sucks. So, you know, you don't want to come off as bad. And a lot of people, I think, realize that first impressions are extremely important. So you want to come off as your best self, and you probably want to put on a little bit of a facade. And if you do that, you're probably going to have more success. But if you don't, many people aren't going to talk to you because you're probably going to come off as a little bit boring, a little bit average, but people are going to try to play themselves up in the first interaction. And if they do that, then they'll obviously will have more success over time, because the first time you interact with someone is like, it determines a lot. It determines your relationship. It determines how far your relationship will go. Because it's very hard to change people's opinion once they've put an opinion on you, because they've already seen you, and then that's the opinion that they're always going to have in their head for the longest time.
And whether those be good opinions or bad opinions, it's a better way to express one's true self without trying to be influenced by what high school is and all the people influencing you in high school, because frankly, high school is just popular culture, what people think is popular.
Thank you so much.
Okay, and that was the episode. Teen boys anonymously answer 7 burning questions. Well, they only answered 5 in this video, but if you want to watch the full video, obviously for 2 and 3 question, then I would definitely recommend you do so. The link will be down in the description below. And as always, I want to give a big thank you to Jubilee for letting creators react to their videos. And also Jubilee's channel will be down in the description below. So I definitely recommend checking them out and giving them the support that they deserve. And also, if you could just click on this video and give them a view and give them a like, that would be great. But anyways, that's about it for this episode, everyone. I hope you enjoyed it. And until next time, see ya.